Horse and gents, welcome to GX, and this is why this is the scariest predator of all time by geographic. Okay, YouTube just changed their UI in a certain way. The theater mode is like covers the whole window. So literally need to bring the cursor here just to read the title. I can't even know what the channel is unless I scroll down. What the hell, YouTube? Why do you have to break things that already works? Like theater mode was fine before. There was information below. I could see things. I could see what is the next related video and all that. Why did you change it? This is basically full screen, but just for the window. All right. So this, I'm guessing this is about crocodile, obviously, judging from the thumbnail. Yeah, they're scariest predator. I mean, for sure, for a lot of psychological reason. It's humans are usually affected because they always just like prey, like just what is it called, like hiding below the water and suddenly snatching you up type of way, and they run after you, lunge after you, basically, right? They always do this push-up movement because they can't stand on their like legs like that. They always have to do push up. That's how heavy they are, and they don't, their skeletal structure doesn't support them like that. They always have to like do this pushing movement every time they have to run, and they run like hell. Their teeth are so powerful they can puncture things like like truck panels and shit like that. That shit is insane. The level of bite power they have, right? And that, what is it called? That rotation thing that they do, right? Once they grab and just completely rotate in high speed. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw that, I was surprised the level of speed they have. I thought they like grab onto it, slowly turn around. No, they just violently spin, basically decapitating anything. Like if they grab your arm and they start to spin, your arm is gone. Just thinking about that just gives me shiver. So for humans, this is one of the scariest predators of all time. Yeah, jaguars basically hunt them down and they run away. But yeah, like crocodiles overall is just insane, and I'm sure geographic is gonna have a million different facts why they're more scarier. Since I started watching geographic, let's just say I'm afraid of more animal than I were before. That's what happened. So yeah, let's watch this one.
Some animals very clearly got the middle finger from evolution. This is the portrait of privilege. There is no animal that's gotten more green lights from God than a bulletproof, sawtoothed, predatory sledgehammer with hyperintelligence, parkour prowess, and the ability to cryo sleep like Captain America. Yeah, that menace is alive. Find out if you want to. Brumation's pretty much hibernation for reptiles. Basically a built-in power save mode for animals that already don't use much of it. But it means this is an apex predator that can survive a fate with Elsa, cause gators and the like can survive a winter in a frozen pond by turning their metabolism all the way down, where they'll just stick their snouts above water and leave the rest under the ice where it's actually warmer until fate decides to defrost
Yeah, they're also cold-blooded, right? Basically room temperature blood. Yeah, okay.
them. Mind you, brumations not sleep, and gators will move around on days when it's warmer, but it also means this ill-mannered iceberg can probably sense you walking past it, thanks to another superpower we'll get into later. Cause you're gonna learn that not only is the mame gecko the most disrespectful addition to the food web, it is humanity's greatest predator, and whatever Oppenheimer felt when Hiroshima got hit with a massacre mushroom isn't even 1% of the regret felt by whoever unleashed an armor-plated equalizer onto Earth. But real quick, I'm gonna be saying crocodiles for most of this video, but a lot of this applies to crocodilians as a concept. I cannot express how much every part of a crocodile's body is designed to author your obituary, and that includes its walnut-sized brain. Because crocodiles are intelligent on a level that should deeply disturb you.
What?
Both mugger crocodiles and American alligators will lure birds in by using sticks and twigs as bait to snatch their souls. That would already be bad enough, without the implication. The implication is that Satan's Snaggletooth stapler is able to take seasonality into account, since they're aware enough to pull this in the middle of nesting season. They're like Batman with prep time, except they've had 100 million years to plot. Another revelation is that the dinosaur time left behind will hunt as a pack, with scientists watching a group of crocs swimming in a circle around a shoal of fish, making the circle tighter and tighter until the fish were forced into a bait ball, just for the chompy boys to take turns cutting across the center of the circle to get their share of fish. There's another example where a massive saltwater crocodile scared a pig into running into a lagoon, where it was immediately jumped by two smaller crocs waiting. Now the implication there is somehow the giant
Deception is what is the most scariest thing, right? Because basic attack like makes sense. Oh look, there's a tiger. It will lunge at you and kill you. I understand that. Crocodile will basically lure you into an ambush. What the fuck, man? That is a level of intelligence that just like gives you shivers.
Giant Salty knew exactly what direction to force the pig. Crocs have been doing this, it's just as expert Vladimir Dene will tell you, it's incredibly difficult to study an animal that does its damage in the water. Because if you're in the water studying hunting crocodiles, chances are they're also studying you, and their thesis statement is your headstone engravement. Vlad has put in over 3,000 hours of watching crocs, and has witnessed things like a stronger, heavier croc driving fish to shore, with smaller, more agile teammates hawking cornered fish. Now you
Yeah, we have drones now, though. Can't we just like use drones to observe underwater things? Or drone technology hasn't gone at that level. Like it's easier. Like I'm guessing we're not there yet. Drones that gonna go inside the water. Like I guess it's gonna be a thing in few years. Like how drones are for the air. I think it's gonna be a thing for the military. Already has that, obviously. But like for commercial use, it's gonna be a thing in the future. Like very soon.
You might ask, how do the crocs share their victims? And honestly, that might be more unsettling than how they murk them. Chris Campbell was a contractor for the Okefenokee Wildlife Reserve, which meant over a decade of watching what a neighbor gator is capable of. One day he showed up to work with 60-something gators posted up by the boat docks. What he described were two groups of gators, one in the semicircle formation driving fish to the shallows and using the boats to corner them, and the other group in the background resting, or more like waiting. Because whenever a gator from the hunting party caught a fish, he'd immediately retire to the waiting group, and one of the waiting crocs would sub in and take his place. This went on for hours, until it got hot enough for them to clock out and go their ways. But when Campbell went back the next morning, like clockwork, the morning crush was still there. Same time, same place, same agenda. That's a level of teamwork and foresight most people aren't willing to accept from a prehistoric snap trap. But your ignorance ain't bliss, in fact it's what sustains them. In many spots in Africa and Australia, people are
I mean, ignorance is a bliss, but not when it's about survival. At that time, it's really not a bliss. I mean, it's a bliss if you don't know you're gonna die. I don't know. But every statement like that has a nuance behind it, right? Like I like to think philosophy. I mean, that's a stupid thing. Most people like to think of philosophy like that. They don't even realize that. But yeah. So ignorance is a bliss. Like I've found out a lot of time. Like too much information is a problem. Like in a certain way, right? Like I don't want to like piss off people in the comments. Information and knowledge is always important, but there is such thing as too much information and too much. You don't want to go to OCD level shit, right? And sometimes ignorance is a bliss. Like if you don't know, like sometimes it's easier. But it's about survival. That shit's not gonna work. If in anything in the wild, right? Any information is key. Like Bear Grylls whole shit. This is why Bear Grylls and all those like shows were really hit. People like to see that shit, like primal level things, because we don't live that life. We live in society. But there was a time where humans used to live like that. So things like crocodile is much more smarter. They work in group. They do all these things like clockwork. Most people are probably don't know this, and when they realize, it's gonna panic them. And crocodile is a real threat for most of societies. Like a lot of countries have crocodile as an issue. Like crocs just walking. Sometimes like flood happens and crocodile is inside the city. And this shit is next level, man.
are warned never to get water from the same place more than once, and definitely not past twice. It's because crocodiles will memorize patterns and clock your daily routine, and getting too predictable around a professional camper means the croc will take note, just to ambush you the next chance they get, and they'll use very little energy to do it. It's also why studying them is like edging death. Choose the same spots repeatedly, and at best, the croc notices and avoids you with no regard for your research. And at worst, Senor Snappy studies your habits enough to put a halo around your head. That's a real PhD, which makes the crocodile a gift-wrapped FU to any creature of habit, and why the most dangerous kind of croc is actually an
slowly emerging.
But if you watch this video, you could be the smartest thing missing a spine. You'll still be a living doormat if you don't have the hardware to back it up. And no animal has more disrespectful hardware than a motion-activated bear trap.
Ooh!
Crocodile is the most physically unfair predator on Earth because virtually every body part has been expressly designed to flatline you. They have the strongest recorded bite force of any animal, at 3,700 pounds per square inch, making its jaw a steel trap capable of damage on par with victims of war. But Maturing's realizing it's the teeth as much as the jaw. Sharks have serrated teeth to slice through prey. Crocs have death cones designed to keep prey in its custody, meaning if a leather log bites you, you have the lowest chance of escape, which gets worse when the croc proceeds to drown you, and with crocs being able to hold their breath for up to 2 hours, trust that you'll pass tense long before he does. The only thing with those teeth is, they're great for grabbing, useless for chewing, so they'll slam prey into chunks and swallow them whole, which leads to the most broken finishing move of any animal, the death roll. But crocs also have the most acidic stomach of any animal and can dissolve bones, horns, and hooves. But they're also bloodbenders with a heart that controls exactly where the blood goes, and a feeding croc will direct blood to its stomach, so the carbon dioxide in it only makes the acid more corrosive. And good luck fighting back when nature made an evolutionary aggro weapon borderline bulletproof. Crocodiles are covered in osteoderms, and armor plating blocks the teeth of other animals from doing damage, which is why there's more than one case of a croc tanking a gunshot, but the nasty work is what—
I'm pretty sure you need like elephant gun level shit, right? I mean, the name exists because that's the bullet it takes to kill an elephant. I don't know. But yeah, shit like that. You probably need something like that, like real high power gun to take down a crocodile. This is why Victorian times people used to like hunt animals a lot. You know, I remember somebody saying like, yeah, people used to be just an a-holes, right? Like hunting animals, this and that. And sure, there is that element, but I think it's the ability to hunt animals, because guns were a relatively new thing back then, right? Before there's like archers, like how many bows it takes to kill something like this, like, yeah. So when gun became a thing, like rifles became a thing, and yeah, you can just one shot something like crocodiles or something. Yeah, the Victorians just like, it just became one of those like mentality. Like, look at that! I just hunted the human hunted the one of the most deadliest predators on the planet, and literally made a shoe out of their skin. There's that mentality, like victory, like human victory over certain animals. Now you think like, okay, the Victorian times wasn't that long ago; it was just very recently, and that is not as much of an achievement. You think that they're just being an a-hole? Not really. Sure, there were hunters much before that. Sure, all the way to caveman times, human used to hunt. But that was like a risky hunt, right? That was for food and risky hunts. Most times, humans didn't risk that shit just to do that, right? When gun became a thing, that is when they're like, okay, I'm gonna hunt certain type of predator. They just did that. Okay, there you go, skin them, and there's a trophy. That shit didn't exist before guns, because doing that was a risk. How many bow attacks will it take? You need to be a proper warrior type, like hunter, if you're going to do that. No, anyone can't do that. And gun made that possible. This is why like hunting was so big thing around Victorian times.
what you can't see. The scales are said to manipulate water in a way that means a 20-foot problem doesn't make ripples.
Look at the
The
size.
osteoderms create countercurrents that cancel out any disturbances made in the water. Basically cloaking technology, but in a steroid reptile. The same osteoderms can store heat for when it gets too cold and then release it when it's too hot, so they also have a built-in thermostat. There's one more trick under its skin, and it's that when crocs spend all that time underwater, lactic acid starts to build up in them. But because osteoderms are made of mineralized bones, the minerals will slightly dissolve if the acid gets too high, releasing carbonate and bicarbonate ions that neutralize the acid and raise the pH. Crocs are nature's nepo babies. Evolution gave them every cheat possible. And with salties growing up to 20 feet long and pressing the scales at often over 2,000 pounds, it's not like they needed more handouts. Especially when you realize, except for a tail that stores fat like a camel's hump, crocs are almost all muscle and look like a snake with
How is that real? How the fuck is this real?
often over 2,000 pounds. It's not like
Okay, how did it jump that much out of the water?
they needed more handouts. Especially when you realize, except for a tail that stores fat like a camel's hump, crocs are almost all muscle and look like a snake with legs with Kratos' knives for teeth. That tail is a lot stronger than you think, and the same one that can briefly airlift a plus-size predator would absolutely shatter your leg with a direct hit. But there might not be anything more unsettling than crocodiles having probably the most advanced eyes of any animal. Eyes nature put right at the top of their heads, so snappy lads can plot on your life while cosplaying as a log. Eyes that have a protective nictating
Yeah, Sony A7 IV, that's what that is. New next generation of sensors with next generation of like G Master lenses.
membrane, so even attacking one of their few weaknesses still requires two-factor authentication, especially since they can retract their eyeballs. And like dolphins, crocs can rest half their brain at a time, meaning the pride of Steve Irwin can sleep with one eye open, and studies
What the
show
fuck?
they're more likely to do that when they're around humans. Also, they have night vision because of course they do, and that's not even the most broken part of
Why
their
not?
vision. The fovea is a small part of the retina, but it's where vision is the sharpest, and it's what you use when you focus on a specific word on a page, or play Where's Waldo. And when you move your eyes to look at something, got him, that's you putting the image on your fovea. The problem is, what is a tiny dot for us is the shape of a skid mark in a crocodile. Having a fat fovea means nature's favorite predator can scan an entire shoreline without moving its head.
This is literally the cartoonish shit where a predator literally scans a picture and just focus and zooms into one place and just completely puts it into perspective. Whoa, this is scary shit, man. I always had this feeling like crocodiles are OP, but didn't have information to back that shit up. Yeah, now we have it. Crocodiles are too. Imagine humans had all this ability. How powerful would we be? Why did I start there? All right. I think if we were that powerful, I don't think humans would be where they are. Humans need to suck at certain level if we're gonna be creative, which is our superpower. Basically, we are so powerful because of our brain and our creativity. We wouldn't have that if we were this overpowered. Like Neanderthals were like one of those. Like who were like stronger and kind of better, had bigger brain than Homo sapiens, and that's why they basically got extinct because I don't know, they got lazy or something, evolutionary lazy or something. I don't know, like they didn't have to use creativity the way Homo sapiens did. So yeah.
If you still don't follow, get a book and try to read the entire page without moving your eyes once, and then realize how much of a middle finger this creature's existence is, especially since the Titanic scale demon has cockroach levels of plot armor. Crocodiles can tank freezing cold, extreme heat, radiation, and can live in waters contaminated with heavy metals. And with the diet of a morgue, they're resistant to nastiness like anthrax, cholera.
There was a news of Florida, right? Like certain crocodiles got. Wait a minute, it was alligators. I think it was alligator. The same thing, right? They got basically radiated, and they actually gave them the name, the radiated name. Like these are the alligators now.
And the most potent substance on Earth, botulism. They also have negligible senescence, meaning they don't really age the same way most animals do. It doesn't make them immortal, but it does mean that they never really stop growing and can easily pass 100. In fact, right now, there's a croc that's been alive since 1900. Like the year. Which means, other than a Greenland shark, I don't think there's another predator that can outlive a croc, and with them being nature's favorite, of course some sick muppet made them resistant to cancer. And many believe it's thanks to their gut, because the gut microbiome is said to be a huge part of your health, and a crocodile's gut community manages to reverse cancer. An experiment found that their gut bacteria put the brakes on cancer and slowed the growth of cancer-causing cells. Basically, it's a cancer to cancer, and now I understand why Buddy from Spider-Man crashed out, especially since it turns out alligators and crocodiles can regenerate a lost tail.
Ah, come on! All the way from cancer to tail, like how overpowered they can, like this is insane, man. Only thing that's gonna be terrifying is one day somebody goes near a crocodile and crocodile is like, I'm sorry Dave, I can't do that. Like what the fuck, that's it. They just learn how to talk, they're like human like now, we are all screwed.
Crocodilian blood also throws hands with bad bacteria and can dead diseases like salmonella and staph infections. This thing's built like a Dark Souls boss, and the fact that they can survive several acts of God yet get neutralized by a rubber band around the mouth proves nature has a sense of irony. But that's a lot better than getting folded by some of the diseases out there, and there's some stuff that Satan would second guess. Viewer discretion is advised, and this time, I'm so serious. I'm not being cute. If you're queasy and not built for body horror, go here before I ruin your whole day. Your lack of action will be considered consent, I'm just saying.
A minute.
Last chance, you can still go back. Alright, this is on you. 3, 2, happy Halloween. I didn't even curse, I did gag a little. This is a deer suffering from papillomavirus, and it's usually not harmful unless you value mental health. But it can also cause Lovecraftian rabbits, with those affected seeming to grow tentacles. And if you live in Colorado,
Hey, there was a news recently about this.
Definitely seen these jackalopes popping up, and according to this article, the cutaneous quills are caused by the cottontail papillomavirus. This is the worst thing you can see while a mile high, because of the altitude. We fear most what we can't understand, and sometimes
Look, man, here's the thing. Like, I didn't get the point of why that would make you queasy because of those things. Yeah, like if you have certain phobia about that, that makes sense. But if you don't have phobia and you still get queasy, like that's just weird to me. Like, come on, man. Like, you need to be more tougher than this shit. Yeah, there's a virus that does that. Like, I'm pretty sure there are much more fucked up things in the world that if you see, might as well give you stroke. Like yeah, that this was recently in the news. But yeah, viruses is really fucked up. And when scientists literally warn people like viruses are gonna get intense and intense, they have no idea which viruses these scientists are talking about. Shit like this. Imagine things like this jumps to humans and think, yeah, just yeah. This it's just future might be terrifying. That's what I'm saying. If something like CRISPR don't get better or like just specifically attacks virus and makes us better.
Because it feels like fear is the only thing stories like these are selling, and how that story is told could be the difference between being informed and building a panic bunker expecting the end of the world. That's where ground news comes in. Because if we're talking about a mutant deer with flesh bubbles for sanity's sake, you better be informed. Their app and website pulls from over
Hey, well, go to groundnews.com/casual and support this channel.
QR code on screen to subscribe for only $5 a month, so hopefully I will never have to look at that deer again. But you'll never see a croc with something like that. It just wasn't enough. Nature gave an overachieving iguana the most broken build on the planet. Their abilities would get them banned in any game. Like I said, a crocodile on a stakeout can hold its breath for hours, and alligators can survive a 5-month cold plunge. Low metabolism means they live on power save mode, and it's also why a crocodile can go up to 2 years without eating. God bless the bloke that breaks his fast. It means crocodiles can wait out the times that would surely wipe out anything else, and now you see how an aggressive snout managed to reject the same death that found the dinosaurs. Crocs have been around since Saturn was single and still waiting on a ring, and the fact that they can just suspend animation by putting their life on layaway just proves that they really are the teacher's pet of evolution. Also, crocodiles are more than capable of running fast enough to catch you off guard, or at least a Cuban croc will, and this is the one time I wish it were AI. And whoever said you should run away from one in a zigzag is guilty of attempted murder. That is a myth that only ups the chance that you trip and go out like a horror movie. You could climb a tree, except they can do that too, because honestly, why not? They do everything else. And not only do they climb trees, according to scientists, they do it regularly, with them finding grown adults 10 feet in the trees and juveniles as high as 30. School taught you to be afraid of quicksand and giant Venus flytraps, yet somehow a drop gator was an unmentioned possibility. They can also climb fences, of every kind. And again, you already know where this was taken. This is flagrantly Floridian. I think now's a good time to mention, crocodiles are more related to birds than to a turtle, snake, or a lizard, meaning we just barely missed out on this freak being able to fly. Flightlessness aside, another thing they can't do well is see underwater. Their aquavision
Yeah, basically from the dinosaur times, right? Like they basically got into water and dominated. There you go. Which video? Was it Casual video? I don't know. Was it Tier Zoo video? I remember that.
is actually kind of mid.
We're
this far into this video and we finally found a weakness. But don't get too excited, because nature overcompensated with something outrageous. Those pits seasoning the crocodile are pressure sensors, and it's how the ultimate predator can clock the smallest vibrations in the water. It completely erases their lack of water vision. In fact, you could hogtie a croc blindfolded, throw it into a pool, and let a leaky faucet drip on a complete opposite side. The croc will still know exactly where the water's coming from, while you won't know where he is until you wake up at a Tupac concert. And when murkiness brings the water's visibility to zero, they'll T-pose, spreading their legs and fingers to maximize an already broken...
I don't know, to me this feels like so overpowered that we might one day realize that's not the case, because I don't know, my mind cannot accept that. That level of sensory accuracy, I don't know, man. Does crocodile have that? Because if that's the case, like crocodiles would be too overpowered. Like, I mean, I get it, like too overpowered in a way, like they would not have to worry about anything. They would just stay in the water, never get out of the water, like hunt everything water. They know everything, everywhere, every fish, if that's the level of sensory they have. I don't know, man.
Ability. And speaking of fingers, their jaws are more sensitive than yours. A dinosaur beast breathing like a nosegay, but let the croc tell it. That's the only demon that's slaying. And I don't know if I said this already, but let's not just walk past the fact that they can regenerate their tails like a starfish's arm. But the thing is, bears are berserker builds on steroids. Cats are four-legged fur ninjas, and orcas are the most cerebral serial murkers on the planet. What is it about this semi-aquatic bioweapon that makes me confidently call them the scariest predator on Earth? Oh, simple. They're a predator's predator. Is there a single predator that generates more anxiety in other predators? Even cheetahs aren't fast enough to cheat death in the hit range of the...
I mean, it's not fair to show cheetah. Cheetah just basically sucks.
Reptile. And the king of the jungle gets a severe vibe check when they're out of their element. Not to mention...
But then again, that's the case with King of the Jungle gets ass kicked by a lot of things that shouldn't. Jaguar always runs after crocodiles, right? And crocodiles runs away. I've seen those clips. Tiger would never have beef with crocodile, but if it did, I'm guessing like tiger is more powerful than jaguars. Probably they would fuck it up as well. I don't know.
Crocodiles will savage sharks to the point where many believe bull sharks actively avoid them. The crocodile is the worst kind of predator, one with zero prejudice, which makes them a massive threat to the most successful predator of all time.
Humans.
Here's the thing, when a lion, tiger, or bear becomes a man-eater, it usually means something's wrong and they can't hunt their normal prey. Polar bears and Komodo
Tigers are the best best example of that. One tiger, oh fuck, I can't hunt anymore. Oh, I have an easy prey. Humans.
dragons are famously less picky, but their home base is so remote that most people will never have to worry about them. Not only do crocodiles practice the worst kind of equality, they're basically everywhere. It's not that they actively go after humans, just that they genuinely don't care, which is why it's the crocodile that turns more humans into hashtags than any other large predator by a lot, and considering how and where they do it, that number could easily be higher. Even if you don't get killed by a crocodile, there's plenty of psychological damage that comes from being
Whoa!
captured by one. In 2003,
That was not okay, man. That lunge was too quick.
two Australian teenagers spent 22 hours trapped in a tree while being stalked by a 13-foot crocodile below, and the entire night was the two keeping each other awake so they wouldn't fall in. To make it even worse, thanks to a flood, the waters kept rising and the
Wait a minute. I'm trying to imagine myself. I don't think I would sleep. I'm not gonna lie. Doesn't matter what. I don't think I would sleep if that shit was there. I choose not to sleep a lot of time, and I can easily be awake for like 2-3 days, even if I wanted to. Even without something, I'm at the stage where like I'm sometimes thinking, am I depressed? I don't know, because I don't get excited for things like even video games doesn't excite me the way it used to. I guess I just got slightly older. I'm in my 30s now, 31. Yeah, but even then I could choose to stay awake, and sometimes I do like, it's been 2 days because of workload. I don't sleep. I literally skip an entire night of sleep, and I sleep the next night, right? So just thinking like, yeah, I don't think I would sleep, but I know people are different. All people are different. I don't know. I don't think if there is a crocodile below, like I wouldn't have to worry about maybe I'll sleep. I don't know.
Croc seemed to taunt the two by showing off the body of the third friend it had already caught. The two would be saved, but only by helicopter, because really, what else can you do in that situation? Well, they didn't get it as bad as Ryan. The New Zealander also got stalked by a croc almost as big as the 20-foot kayak he was traveling in, and held captive on Governor Island, where the predator repeatedly made his presence known. 2 weeks with limited food and water, and a 20-foot undertaker that would chase him every time he tried to leave, and Ryan was hanging on by only a thread by the time he was rescued. That's the horror of being hunted by the greatest sit-and-wait predator of all time, because time is their greatest resource.
Look over the side of your kayak and see this was your next move. I wouldn't be in a fucking kayak. So this is a redundant question at this point. Why you in kayak?
You'll never have more of it than they do. And the fact that the big ones can go a year or more between meals and do their dirty work in murky water makes a man-eating crocodile the most difficult kind to deal with. Gustav was a Nile crocodile believed to be
Remember
20 feet
this?
long and well
What the fuck? Gustav, yeah.
over 2,000 pounds. Believed because despite allegedly putting 300 people in past tense and being repeatedly shot, the serial killer Croc was never officially caught. And despite reports of his death, because he was believed to have hatched in the 50s, there's a small but legitimate chance he's still out there, biding his time, just waiting for someone to want.
Just get a 50 caliber sniper rifle. That's it, it's dead. 50 BMG, it can't survive that. Nothing survives that. A wall don't survive that. I mean, it's not that hard, people. It's 2025. We have guns, right? Just get that 50. What is it like? M1A1, whatever the fuck that. Like, yeah, 50 BMG with a proper like cartridge. Is it a I don't think it's. Yeah, it's a cartridge that you put in, right? Big ass thing, and there you go. Bam.
Wander close enough to become 50 shades of prey. You never see them until it's too late, and once you do, you might not see them for another year. It's a self-cloaking carnivorous convict that the land before time left behind. This is the scariest predator on Earth. But of course, it's just an animal doing what comes naturally. They're not evil, just forged by millions of years of character development and mass extinctions. It's not hard to see why Steve Irwin wrote so hard for them, and I wouldn't be doing khaki.
Evil is really, again, like I said, I'm, like I think about philosophy a lot. Evil is not as simple as you would think. What is evil? When you really think about evil in deep, you might come across like there are lines that you have to like draw. If you don't draw, what is evil? Evil could be just like case of like psychological problems and chemical combination because of brain damage or whatever. It just got to that point where it just does that. What is evil? Even in humans. But when in animals, animals are not as cunning as humans. Very few, like elephants, sure, like orcas, but most animals are not at that level. Even if they're smart, they're not smart, creatively, like how humans are. So what is evil at that point? Even if they do certain thing that looks like evil, it's just combination of things they evolved to do that. In the end of the day, they are trying to survive. That's it.
Jesus justice if I convince you to hate them. Now, with them it's respect and a very healthy helping of fear, because moral of the story, always beware the old man in a game where men die young. And you always beware the landlord of croc country, because you'll never know when rent's due.
Imagine that, like hippo, right? Hippo messing with a crocodile, crocodile just sitting there not doing anything because it's a hippo. Crocodile's like, God damn it, I'm this powerful. You like this, like I'm basically Superman at this level, and I have to deal with this shit. Come on, just like grinding teeth and getting angry while hippo just playing with it. Yeah. Alright, people, that was the scariest predator of all time by channel Geographic. If you like my reason, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.